Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In the Driver's Seat with dubizzle. I know that you've missed both Fouad and myself, and it has been quite a while. On this episode, we're not going to be talking about new cars. Instead, we'll be talking about something different. It's still car related, but Fouad, I think we're going to like this one.
Yeah, I think I've missed being here as well, and people missed us, I've been getting texts, actually I haven't, but you know what? I actually miss being here. I actually miss talking to people, talking about cars. And like you said, we're gonna mix it up a little bit this time, so we're gonna talk a little bit. You'll find out in the episode where we're gonna talk about.
We usually talk about new car news or new things that are happening here in the United Arab Emirates in terms of transportation, cars, taxis, this stuff here and there. But we thought on this episode, we're going to give you our advice and our insights on what the best first car for you is.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Fouad and I have differing opinions. He's probably going to say a BMW is the best car, an M8 probably with the V8 and everything like that, and I'll say a Volvo station wagon. But we do have different opinions than those two brands. There are a lot of cars out there that are very good for first-time drivers.
And we'll try to be as pragmatic as we can.
Exactly. And by the way, all the cars that we're going to talk to you about in this episode will all be available on dubizzle cars. So all you need to do is set up dubizzle and get yourself a brand new car, a used car of your choice. And if you're a first-time driver, look out for these tips. On this episode, we'll be talking about cars that you should buy first when you get your license. Now here it's quite different. A lot of people actually set foot right into a V8, into a Patrol, a Land Cruiser, and while they are great cars, they might not be great for first-time drivers. They're very large, they're uneconomical when it comes to fuel consumption.
Hard to maintain.
Hard to maintain, expensive to maintain as well, they can be. So if you're looking for a car and you are new to driving, well, my recommendation will be the Nissan Sunny. It is one of the most iconic cars produced in the world, and it is a synonymous sight. You cannot go 1 meter in this country without seeing one that's white with black tinted windows. And there is a good reason for that. That's because it is small, it's economical, and it's incredibly budget friendly.
So before we dive into what car I would recommend to people, I would like to tell a small story. The story of myself when I moved to the United Arab Emirates around 9 years ago. And as a car enthusiast, I was very excited, because cars are cheaper here. Petrol is cheaper, so I wanted to dive into a V8 Grand Cherokee. That was a car I really loved, especially the 2007, 2008 model. That shape is just amazing for me. It looks amazing still. So I went ahead and I went online and I bought a car from a seller in Abu Dhabi, and the car seemed fine. I didn't test it. I didn't do any RTA comprehensive test. I didn't do any tests. I just drove the car and I felt it, okay, I know a little bit about cars, so let's buy this car. It drives well, and I loved the pull out of it. It was a 4.7 V8. Not the RT, just before the RT, and it was limited. Beautiful car. It had sensors, it had memory seats, everything, full option for a 2007 car. Till today, some cars don't have that much options.
And the Grand Cherokee is one of these cars that's aged so well.
It did.
It had very minute changes over the years, but the car has always looked great. So, for one, I'll let you continue the story. I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
actually very true. It did age very well. So I bought that car, but the mileage was around 160,000.
Yeah, that's
Okay?
high.
That's high for a V8 Grand Cherokee. And what I didn't know is that the car would cost me over the next 2 years around 18,000 dirhams. The car was cheap when I bought it. It was like around 25, but I still paid. And then when I sold it, I actually had to sell it as scrap because the engine had stopped 3 times. And that doesn't only say anything about the Grand Cherokee. It just says that at that age, in a V8, and the car that I did not inspect. So the biggest thing, I think, for people to look out for when you're buying a car, before the brand, before the car, before the cylinders, is first of all, have your car inspected. If it's not inspected yet, any trusted place that could inspect your car would be a recommended idea, because in the end you want to know, no matter how much you think you know about cars, you want to know what's inside deeper. You're not a mechanic unless you are. Then in that case you can go ahead and buy that car.
And that's some really good advice.
Yeah.
Because always what you should do as well is you should sort of get a second opinion. Now I have to take my best friend with me every time I buy a car because he knows that I'll be stupid enough to pay more than what I should be for the car. And with him there, I know that I can get a better deal because I will be looking at it with rose-tinted glasses going, oh, I love this car. I need it in my life. I'll pay you whatever money you want.
Exactly, you get
But
emotional.
he'll go, no. Because this is wrong, that's wrong, this needs to be fixed, that needs to be
Yeah,
fixed, there's no service history,
exactly.
etc., etc. Having a car inspected beforehand is always ideal no matter what. Even if you trust the guy that's selling the car, or you trust the person that's selling it, I should say, get it inspected. And if they say no, that is an immediate red flag. Do not buy a car that does not already come with an inspection report or will not be inspected.
Exactly.
There are many companies, including dubizzle cars, that will do mobile inspection where the car is.
Exactly.
Now, I also have some driving tips. Now, I actually went the economical route when I bought my first car. Now, it
Volvo,
wasn't,
what it was?
well, that was you gave it away. You know?
Volvo. Come on, everyone knows that you're gonna buy a Volvo. It's the first car you're gonna buy it. It's in the UAE, of course, it's gonna be a Volvo. It's the first car ever, no?
Technically, the first car I ever drove was not a Volvo,
Oh,
but
that's exciting news.
I
guys.
didn't own the car, so
Okay.
I guess it doesn't really count. So the first car that I actually bought was a Volvo V70,
Okay.
the Emirates car, the
Very
one
good.
that Emirates chauffeured business class passengers to and
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
airport
yeah.
to their home and everything like that. I loved the car no matter what. It was a 2.5, I think. It was an inline 5-cylinder. Now,
Yeah.
I did not get the car inspected either. I went out on a whim and went, no, it's fine. This car is fantastic.
It's a Volvo.
I love it.
I'll buy it.
It's going to be all and end all. It's going to survive me. That's
Okay.
how great the car will be.
Okay.
And it did, to be honest, it did. I actually ended up scrapping the car because the last week that I had it, I accidentally hit a wall. And when I say accidentally, it was a pretty big hit because the entire right side of the car was damaged. And I
How
did
do you
it,
accidentally hit a wall?
I wasn't paying attention. I
fair
was
enough.
distracted behind the wheel. Luckily,
That's-
I did
that
this in a
happens then.
parking lot and I
Okay.
hit my own wall. So I didn't hit a car or anything like that. But it was a very stupid mistake on my behalf, and it's not something I'd ever like to do. Now, that car did survive for 2 years before it started having any issues, and then I went off and bought a charger, which is a mistake.
You
Because
bought a charger.
I did.
I
But
don't
that's,
know that story.
that's a story for another time. Right now, we're
Okay.
talking about first cars and first-time car buyers. Now, I've already mentioned the Nissan Sunny. Now, Fouad, what would be your top pick? I think let's pick out 3 cars each. So we've got a total of 6. There's a nice kind of round
Exactly.
number, and we have our own take
And
on
I
each.
want to also categorize them. I want to start with if you're a single guy, if you want a nice car to drive, just like fun car to drive. And you're a car enthusiast. I want
I
to go.
see where this
up
is
to-
going.
Exactly, right. And I want to go up to if you're a family guy, if you have a small family and you want a reliable car, and if you want a small SUV. So let's categorize these 3 categories and give one each.
Okay. Well, it looks to be that I've got the, let's say, economical family car so
Okay.
far, because the Sunny is a good car for your family. It's got 5 seats and it is pretty spacious. The new shape actually looks really nice. We don't see too many on the road of them because they are a little bit more expensive than, say, the previous generation. But it's interesting to note that Nissan actually still sells the Sunny as the Sunny Classic.
Actually, to be honest, the Sunny is a very good car. It's a very reliable car. You can see it even in all the delivery and that's heavy usage, delivery or rental or all of that stuff. This car sells like crazy, and it doesn't stop. It literally doesn't stop. It runs like 500,000 kilometers with no issues.
So if someone's looking for something that's sporty, that's economical and budget friendly as their first car, I know what the answer is, but I'm going to let you say the answer.
What do you think the answer is?
It's going to be 86, a BRZ, or an FRS, one of the 3.
It is the same car, basically. But yes, it definitely is. And the question is why, right? Because first of all, it is budget friendly.
That
It
is
is very
true.
budget friendly, the car. Even if you buy a very new model, it can come up to 120,000. This is brand new, 140,000, I think. And this is the 2023 under warranty and service contract. And if you go to use, you can buy it around 50 and 40,000. Depends on the year model and the mileage it has made. I've had the car personally for 4 years. Literally, I've had no issues with the car. If you treat it, and this is, by the way, this is information I want to tell everyone. Whatever car you have, if you do not service it regularly, if you do not pay attention to your car will break down. Because whatever the car is, it needs oil change, it needs service, it needs to pay attention to tires, it needs major service on time as well. So these things, guys, you have to pay attention to them because if they're not done properly, the car will break down.
And this is something a lot of people tend to forget. While oil change is one thing, your car needs to be regularly maintained in other ways.
Correct.
I, for example, kind of forgot that tires need to be rotated, and that caused me more tire wear, and I had to replace my tires more often.
Exactly.
Instead of having them last 3 to 4 years, my tires only lasted 2 years the first time
Correct.
round.
My tires lasted 2 years, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I wonder why. So, that if you're looking for something sporty, get yourself a Toyota 86 or a BRZ, or if you really want something American, you can get yourself a Scion FRS. I know there's very few in the market, but they do come with manual gearboxes as well, and they are a ton of fun to drive. Rear-wheel drive on a budget, basically.
Exactly. For a midsize, if you have a small family or 2-3 people in the car, 4 people max, and here I want to go with something not a lot of people expect, which is a BMW. It's actually a BMW 320, which is a budget-friendly car. It's a 4-cylinder engine, inline 4, and it doesn't have that many problems. And if the car is maintained well, it serves you well. Like I have one back home, which is 2007, 200,000 kilometers on it, and the car runs perfectly.
And there are a lot of Japanese specs of these cars running around with
Exactly.
low mileage. And yes, this is a great way for you to get into the luxury segment because
Yeah.
BMW is a little bit more on the higher end side of things. There's a lot of nice features in there, leather seats, Bluetooth connectivity, cruise control, these kind of things, which you
Exactly.
won't find in some other budget-friendly alternatives. So as much as I'm not the biggest fan of BMW, I think I'll have to agree with Fouad there that getting a entry-level 3 Series is probably a good idea. You could even look at things like a 318 if you can find one, or even a 316 if they still exist.
I think there's some model. I think after 2016, they don't make them anymore.
So
or
you
2018,
could, you
something
could
like
probably
that.
pick one
But
up
yeah,
on a
it's-
budget.
Even the 318 is a 3-cylinder car, which is very economical, like super economical.
So
It
I'm
has a
trying
small
to think-
turbocharged. What would you suggest in that range? Let's say.
In that range, so what are we talking about from price point there for a BMW 320i?
Let's say 2018. We're talking about 75,000.
In that sort of realm, we're going to go
Around.
back to another car that's synonymous with the United Arab Emirates roads, and that is the legendary Toyota Corolla. It is the best-selling car in the world for a very good reason. It is economical, it is reliable, it is cold when it comes to blowing AC in your face, it is spacious, and there's a GR version, but the GR version isn't budgie friendly, so that's a topic for another time. But the Corolla comes in 2 guises. You can get it as a sedan or a hatchback.
Yeah.
So if you want that sort of extra space in the boot, you can get one. And the Corolla itself is very good when it comes to depreciation. So when you buy your first car, don't kind of think of it as how much money am I going to make at the end of my tenure with the car. Use the car that you want to use it for. And a lot of people are guilty of doing this. They'll buy a car and they won't actually use it for its intended purposes. A car is used to get you from A to B. And if you buy something like, let's say, the 86 or something like that, this kind of falls into a category of its own. Can be used as a daily, but it can also be used as, say, a weekend fun kind of car.
Correct.
Don't always think about depreciation. Yes, have it in the back of your mind when you're buying a car, but don't let that be a major factor when it comes to buying a car. But with the Corolla, it's a different story because it holds its value very well. And now for the next one, the next kind of category here, I think we kind of figured out that the one car that we're missing now is a family-ish car.
Yeah.
For a larger family. Now, this is where things get a little bit difficult because while there are SUVs out there that have space for 8, that have space for 7, or if you have a smaller family, 5 as well. But the problem with SUVs is they're very large. They can be intimidating to drive. You sit a lot higher up on the road as well, and it can be quite daunting, especially for first-time drivers. However, there are a few cars that spring to mind that are some good alternatives. Let's take, for example, the iconic Mitsubishi Pajero. Every expat who comes to the United Arab Emirates has owned a Pajero in their lifetime, sat in one, or their family has had one. Right. I know we have. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of the car, I will say I do want one from the 90s, the old box, along with the Hyundai Galloper, because that's the first car that I remember being in this country. And there's a story about that car too, but again, for another episode. The thing is with the Pajero, it actually comes in 2 sizes. You have the 3-door, as it's commonly referred to, or the 5-door, and then space for 7.
Yeah, 4 and 7.
And it is a short wheelbase and a long wheelbase. Now, the reason I've chosen the Pajero is because it has a 3.5 litre or a 3.8.
Correct.
It's not probably the most economical of the lot. A RAV4 is probably a better choice. However, if you need that extra space, the Pajero is a very good alternative.
Especially in that budget, and I hate to see it as well. I'm not a big fan of the Pajero. I think it just wiggles too much, as a car. You see it on the road. And so for some reason, people who drive it are not the best of drivers. This is an assumption of my own, by the way. Sorry if you own a Pajero and you're watching us. Drive better. I mean, good comment.
Just drive better. That's it.
Yeah. So no, actually, the car is very good. It depreciates very low. It doesn't depreciate much. It also it holds its value, like what I'm saying. And the car doesn't have a lot of issues. Yeah, the fuel consumption is a little high because it's a V6, it's a 3.5 or a 3.8, and both of them they eat fuel a little bit. But the car runs a lot and does everything and has a space for 7 seats in 90% of them. And it doesn't have any issues, which is actually a good choice.
A good alternative to the Pajero is the Toyota Fortuner in the 2.7 engine, guys.
Correct.
This, again, is another 7-seater, but it is quite heavy for that engine. But
I agree.
Both of these cars, actually, if you're looking to go off-road, are great alternatives, especially the Pajero. The Pajero is an icon of the desert as well. It can really hold its own, and a lot of people to this day still use those cars to June bash.
You know what? Actually, since we're talking about off-roaders, what's the best off-roader in your opinion? And I think this is a very big question
as a first-time car.
As a first-time car, yeah, because a lot of people want to benefit from the desert. They want to go in the desert, and they don't want something extra big, like they want something that's good size and can go to the desert and enjoy. So what should they buy in that
If
case?
that's the case, it's a short wheelbase Wrangler.
Short wheelbase Wrangler or
Yeah.
an FJ Cruiser?
This is
The
a good
question.
one.
This is $1 million question, by the way.
It is. That is a very good rebuttal as well. The Wrangler, again, is one of these cars that every expat who comes into this country, especially from my neck of the woods, has to own a Wrangler. And there's a reason behind it, because back home, the Wrangler is very expensive. But here, with financing options like we have at the dubizzle Cars Hub, are very good. And we can get the cars that we might not be able to afford back home.
And it looks very well. It looks amazing. Honestly speaking, the Wranglers, especially with all these editions, Jeepers edition and the Renegade and then the Rubicon and the Sahara, and there's 100 million variations of the Wrangler, and they all look good.
But I would be honest here, and I would not recommend it for first-time drivers, because one, the fuel economy is not very good.
Correct.
Two, yes, it is an off-road car. It's not the best for a daily driver, especially if you have the off-road tires fitted onto the car, because that's going to generate a lot of noise.
That's true.
And it's quite high up the road. It does sit very high.
Correct.
It has a very long bonnet that doesn't slant too much. It's not ideal for first-time buyers.
What about an FJ?
The FJ, I would put it in the same sort of ballpark. But the good thing with the FJ is they hold their value very well.
And they stopped making them, by the way.
And
they stopped making. So there's a finite amount of these cars on the road.
But the bad side is with them is they can get quite pricey.
Yeah, they do.
And finding one that has less than 200,000 kilometers on the clock, very difficult nowadays. Because as Fouad said, these cars are no longer in production anymore. You cannot buy an FJ Cruiser new from the factory. They are gone. No
Correct.
more. They had the last lot roll off, I think, sometime this year. They had a beautiful video, a swan song for the grand finale of the car in Saudi Arabia. It's a beautiful video, made us all tear up. But these things are icons of the desert.
It's actually sad,
It is. It's very sad. And we wait for the Jeep to be discontinued,
Exactly,
but that
I was going to say the same thing. Do you think the Wrangler is going to stop?
No, I don't think they could ever do it.
I don't think they can, because it has a very huge fan base worldwide, this car.
Yeah, there's a fan right there. For our last car here, we've sort of blown the budget out the window. This is more of a thing that happens in this part of the world, because there are a lot of people out here that have a substantial amount of money at their disposal. It's not it's not uncommon to see someone with a first-time driver driving a G-Wagon, driving a Bentley, a Rolls-Royce. It's, only happens in this part of the world, and honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. If you have the money to buy any car, might as well make your first car a Rolls-Royce Phantom. So
that would be nice.
If you had an unlimited budget, I know we kind of threw the rules out the window here.
Yeah, let's.
But what do you think would be the best, most expensive car for first-time buyers?
But I think, like for me as a single guy, with an unlimited budget, I'll definitely buy a Lamborghini. There you go, guys. I've said it. It's my dream car. Like, I think it's a lot of people's dream car, and it drives amazing.
So let's show the cars that we chose on screen now. So Nissan Sunny, Toyota Corolla, Mitsubishi Pajero.
Yes.
The Toyota 86, BRZ or FRS, whichever one that you want.
BMW 320.
A BMW 320, and then a Lamborghini. So
let's say Huracan.
Spot the odd one out here of which car you should choose for your first time purchase.
What would you choose?
So of the 6 that we probably talked about here, I would most likely go for either, drum roll please, I don't think you've expected this one here. I would honestly go for a Nissan Sunny.
All right, cool. I did not expect that.
No, because I know the 320, there's a wagon version of it somewhere that I could probably get my hands on it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with the Nissan Sunny, everyone knows it, right? It's a great little car. It's budget friendly. Parts are very easy to find here. You'll always find somebody that can fix that car as well. And there's a reason there are so many on the road.
All right, one more question. What if I give you a ridiculous amount of money and I tell you, go ahead, which Volvo would you buy? I mean, what car would you buy?
Is it that I can buy one car only, or I can buy multiple?
One car.
Oh, I can only buy one.
That's why it was hard for me as well. Like, I chose the Lamborghini. Like, it would have to be my everyday drive, but I guess I don't mind.
As a first car.
Yes, indeed.
That is very difficult. There's a long list of cars that we can choose from.
It's gonna be one only, and the budget is unlimited, so money is no issue.
Budget is unlimited. Now, what would I want to drive as a first-time car?
few moments later.
More like an hour later. I'll be sat here all day trying to figure this out here. I'm going to throw you the question. I want you to answer Fouad's question.
Okay.
What car would you buy if you had unlimited money for the first time? So you just got your license fresh, you have an unlimited budget, but we want to know what car you would buy first.
In the comments, guys.
Well, that brings us to an end of this episode. I know it's been a while, and I know we've kind of changed the subject of what we're talking about here, but we like to be more informative. We like to be able to assist you in your car buying needs. So if you enjoyed this episode and you want more tips, help, advice, we do have a lot of knowledge here. We've got decades of experience here at dubizzle, and we're more than happy to help. So we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you. Very nice.